Here we are in state-controlled Britain with the wonderful Phil Escott. Hi, Phil.
Hello, mate. Thanks for having me on
You're
again.
Well, it's a team effort, isn't it? Because, the Ancestral Health Festival, you've sold out twice as quick as last week, and we don't want people complaining that we didn't give them lots of warning. So this is your sort of 1 week warning. You've got to get the tickets. They're limited to 200. You've got to get in quick. So in the description, there's a link to buy tickets, but it's going to be full of great stuff. But we've got news, haven't we, that Dr. Abs will be popping in and Lee Copus, the Kent Carnival. So people we haven't mentioned before are going to be there. And we're going to be on hand to answer all the questions. We're going to answer some questions on here if you've got any. People watching.
Yeah, and also, as I was telling Stephen before we went live, Lee, if anybody follows Lee's channel, I mean, it's great anyway, but you might have seen that he used to play with Adele and co-wrote some of her songs, really. And he's going to be playing with Nikita Stark, playing at least one of her songs with us, and also joining us at the end of the Daz Band set. So if you want to see Lee not only imparting some wisdom, but playing amazing piano as well, come along.
Yeah. I mean, have you had any sort of amazing questions recently, or have you helped anyone with a particular issue where Carnivore has helped them?
Yes, but it always happens, doesn't it? You sort of this stuff out there, and it's some people get it very simply, don't they? Very quickly, and then some people have all sorts of issues along in the adaptation phase. And I think you know who I'm talking about, because we've sort of we've conferred with one who came along to me, and sometimes people take a lot of attention to get them through that adaptation phase. All sorts of things can happen, and I think it's about the confidence, isn't it? Having the confidence that this is the way to go, and the body really, when it's provided with the proper nutrients, everything it needs, everything it doesn't need, will heal itself. And sometimes some weird things can happen in the short term, and so have a chat to somebody who understands about that to get you through that adaptation phase, and things will come together in the end on our ancestral diet, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just name check Tango Delta. Hey all. I guess next we're going to have Roger and Mike Charlie, but anyway, that's a great name, Tango Delta. Nori Mary.
Just as long as we don't get the fat, sweaty coppers.
Hello from Bonnie Bridlington. Yeah, that's not a person. That's from Nori Mary. She lives in Bridlington. And Bonnie anyway, right, okay. And Micah, hi, yo, which is, I guess, how you say yo. I guess it's sort of quite a cool way of talking, isn't it? Yo. But I was going to say, this Great British Meetup we did last week. I mean, I'm just glad we did that, because the success stories were just absolutely amazing. And if people can't get to the meetup that we've just had, obviously because it was down in the south of England, well, Rainford, UK is very much the north of England, so you can't have that excuse anymore. I'm sorry. So if you want to get there and you live in the north, or you live in the south and you fancy traveling, that's fine as well. So B Rose here, look, hello from SW Missouri. Wow, from all over the world. Maria Kelly, hi from Kansas.
Somebody is coming. Somebody is from the States, actually, to this one.
Yeah. Who's that then? Can you name names?
I can't remember the name, honestly. And my apologies, but I do know that somebody is coming from the States, so that's cool.
Yeah. Well, we had the Great British Meetup. We had people from the States. We had somebody from Switzerland who asked a question, and they did a follow-up question via a consultation. They booked a consultation with me. They were so impressed they bought the company. Gazamongo, hello from JD Gyms in state-controlled Britain. Yes, state-controlled Britain. Boy, is it. And Faith is in Portugal. I did not know that, Faith. Well, that's great. Yes. So, do you want to talk a little bit about the junction so people know what we're waffling on about? Because we haven't got any questions at the moment.
Yes. Well, last year we did a little festival, Lydia Elker and I, and it was her idea really, and just to do a festival at the local pub. Now, it doesn't sound crap really, but it's not. because he's got a huge amount of land out the back, massive great marquee, the stage and PA, and so and also a bar in there as well for the naughty boys and girls. And it's very different to just a local pub, but wonderful landlord, tons of music going on there every day of the week pretty much. And so we thought we'd do a festival, and we got some of these wonderful people down to speak, including Stephen, and it was a great success. But this year we've obviously a lot better the second year and subsequent years, because then you've got testimonials and that kind of thing, and people can see that it actually worked. But so this year we've got Mary Ruddick here, who is actually, she's joining us on Zoom. She can't make it. She could, but she can't make it. You'll have to go to the Sold Out Spain conference in November to meet Mary in person. But Mary's one of my favorite people. She's probably one of the happiest, smiliest people I've ever met. But she travels the world, living with indigenous tribes, knows all about their lifestyle and diet. Her stories are incredible of what she's been through out there. And also a great expert on the microbiome, particularly the stuff that we're missing from birth. So yeah, Mary's great. And then there's me, and I'll, waffle on as usual about arthritis and stuff. Anyway, now we've got this wonderful couple, Jen and David Unwin. David's great, isn't he? Everyone falls in love with David who meets him. He's probably one of the most charming people I've ever met. But they have this practice in Southport, very near to where I live and near to the junction. And they're blowing up all the myths about diabetes with patients, and they're probably not very popular with the drug companies. But they'll be talking. David will be talking about that, I'm sure, about all the low carb stuff. Jen her speciality is more in the food addiction, or that's what she talks a lot. And so I'm really happy to have them coming down. So if you want to come along and meet them, if you've seen them on podcasts and stuff, they'll be there the whole weekend from Friday night to Sunday in their motorhome, and it'll be such a pleasure to have them there. Yeah. What have we got next? So you want to understand about quantum biology, circadian health, all sorts of things, whether the heart's a pump or not, and spoiler alert, it isn't. And whether you want to learn how to hypnotize people and make them believe that they've got talking testicles. Anyway, Sarah Pugh, enormous amount of skills there. She's fascinating. Come along and meet her on the Sunday. She's closing up the festival on the Sunday. And if you're watching this channel, you probably know Richard. Brilliant stuff. Some of it just goes over my head. He's got so much knowledge about biochemistry, and as has Stephen. These guys, both of them, are incredible. So Richard will be there all of the weekend, I think, and imparting loads of wonderful knowledge. Nikita Stark. She's the founder of When Push Comes to Shove, doula training and natural birth, sort of natural midwifery, if you like. Great talks, absolutely hilarious, but also blowing up all the stuff that happens in the regular health system around birth. I tell you, some of the abuse that goes on there, it's horrific, but absolutely brilliant speaker. Also into all the trauma release kind of thing, and also a great musician. So she'll be playing in the evening on the Saturday. I'm just going backwards and forwards with messages with her and the musicians. No rehearsal, we'll get up there and do it. But if you look at YouTube for Nikita, We Will Breathe Again, you can see what a great singer she is, great musician. And here's Stephen. There he is. And just incredible. They haven't wasted away on the carnivore diet. There they are. Still got his biceps. No broccoli deficiency. And I just love Stephen's talks. I learned so much from him. Incredible. So Mighty Goodson, great friend of mine, very, very skilled in all sorts of modalities around trauma release and counseling, all that kind of thing. So I'm going to do a kind of a podcast thing with her and ask her questions, and then there'll be questions at the end. But if you see my recent podcast with Maidi, if you go to ancestralhealthfestival.com, or a Red Pill Sangha podcast, my podcast, you can find it through my Substack and whatever, talking to Maidi, very fascinating, very funny too. Roger Davis will be there doing natural movement stuff on the Sunday, I believe, around lunchtime. And Janice will be doing her breath work again on the Saturday around lunchtime. So come along and check that out. Yeah, proper stuff. What else we got? Actually, I'll tell you what we might have. Okay, well, we'll do this first. Yeah, here's Ryan Abbott. He's going to be coming down on the Sunday to do ice bath and breathwork experience, but you can book an ice bath with him through the ancestralhealthfestival.com event page. And Diane will be coming down and doing massage and reflexology like she did last year. Very popular. Yeah, one thing I might be organizing, don't bank on it, but I'm trying to organize it at the moment. There might even be a fire walk on the Saturday night after the Daz Band. So we'll be playing with the Daz Band on the Saturday, about 8 o'clock. And hopefully, if the weather's okay and we can figure it out. I was horrified this morning. I looked at one of the weather guest pages and it was an absolute biblical deluge for the Saturday. But all the other pages said it was fine. And now even that one says it's fine. So please, touch wood, it will be. I think somebody might have got in the system as a joke and put that in just to wind me up this morning. The Daz Band, yeah, we'll be playing Saturday night. Great truther rock and roll stuff, tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorist, crazy stuff, but wonderful musicians. And there's the Junction. If you like staying up late, you can always go into the pub and they will always have music on later in the evening from about 9:30 as well. And on the Sunday, I've got a monster guitar fest with some favorite local guitarists. It's going to be quite incredible. So if anybody can steel themselves to stay until the Sunday evening, that will be great too. In fact, you reminded me, I need to blast that all over Facebook as a free gig. So anybody can come to that. Just turn up. If you're watching this and fancy a bit of music and you're a big pizza and pasta eater, you're very, very welcome. Come along and watch some serious music on the Sunday night as well. I think that's about it.
Yeah, what was the thing you said you wanted to mention, but then you didn't? You said you were going to mention something, but maybe you didn't.
Oh, about the firewalking.
It was the firewalking.
Yeah,
I thought you might be talking about. Thought you might be talking about a guest in your band or whatever. So.
Oh no! Yes, Lee will be playing with Nikita and with the Daz Band as well, hopefully. And but yeah, the firewalking. I don't know. We'll see. But watch this space. If you're there on the Saturday, it might be a surprise if you want to do something crazy before bed.
Brilliant. Yeah. So we got a couple of questions. So we do this. You can go first, or I can go first. I don't mind. But this one is from Tango Delta. Sometimes I have late nights and early starts due to work. Oh boy, yeah, I hear you. I mean, I do that. That's the thing with when you're dealing with different people around the world. So, for instance, I did something on Ben Bickman, Bart Kay's channel, because he's in New Zealand. So I wasn't in bed until 1:30 in the morning. And then at 7 o'clock a.m., I was online doing a consultation the very next day. So I definitely feel for you, Tango Delta. Right, anyway, I start to get a bit tired later in the day. Do either of you have an opinion on caffeine pills? I stopped drinking coffee last year.
I don't know. I think that anything kind of anything like that is disrupting the hormonal system. It's difficult when you have late nights and early starts, absolutely. But if you have early starts due to work, I would say one thing in the early morning. Well, now it's light at that time, I'm hoping, unless you've got like a 3 a.m. start or something. But if you have a reasonably early start, make sure that the first thing you do is to go outside and get natural light in your eyes to set that body clock. Don't wake up and start staring at your phone or, getting into your computer or anything like that. Go out first of all, get that early morning light, as Jack Kruse says, never miss a sunrise. And that could well set the cortisol melatonin cycle for the day and maybe help you with those late nights. But if you have the late nights, also make sure that you're cutting out artificial light, screens, even house lights. Just if you've got blue blockers, you've got other people in the house and it's difficult, just wear some blue blockers, and that's kind of okay. It's not as good as cutting all the light as well, because we have receptors in the skin too. So I would say, just the more you can get that darkness at night and the early morning light, then it might negate some of this. But I'm not a great fan of caffeine pills. What do you think, Stephen?
Well, I think the strategic light exposure in the morning is absolutely brilliant. I would also add in some cold water on the face. If you can have a cold shower, I'd be really impressed. I find that quite difficult, but I don't find it too difficult to splash my face with a lot of cold water in the morning. I think once you're there, make sure that just get up and just walk around. I mean, just keep moving. I think that really helps. Hydration is really important. I used to grab coffee first thing in the morning. Now I get water about this much, but I don't drink it all. Have a little bit of salt in it. I think getting that hydration first thing, I think that's going to really help. Don't forget, caffeine doesn't actually give you more energy. It blocks the adenosine receptors, so you don't feel sleepy, which is a very different thing. And you could probably, if you did have to resort to caffeine, I would look at a smarter sort of delivery than tablets. Something like a green tea might be better. Or if you did have to go to coffee, if you have that with MCTs and grass-fed butter, I can almost hear Richard in my head saying, MCTs and all that. Ben Bickman's very big into yerba mate. Not something I use or I particularly a fan of, but yeah, that's what I would do. I would look at the more natural hacks first. Natural sunlight in the morning, cold water in the morning, proper hydration. I think that will do. Movement once you're there. I mean, these are all the things that I do. Yes, you're going to be drained. Only today, one of the people that I deal with on a regular basis, I was saying, wow, I'm feeling absolutely shattered. It's been, hard couple of weeks, but you'll get there. Just don't resort to tablets or pills, really. I think, yes, they're convenient, but they have more problems. You can't really dose them. More likely they're going to cause you some jitters and stuff like that. So that's what I do. Great. Next question. Micah says, I remember Stephen doing experiments how protein affects your glucose level, and in his case, it not doing that. However, Bart K always says that eating protein will kick you out of ketosis for a few hours. It's a two-part question. He also says that being in ketosis all the time might be somewhat harmful. Any thoughts? Yeah, going back to that first thing. Well, we know that protein does not make your blood glucose go up. It doesn't directly do that. And even Bart would say that because he knows about the double-labeled testing of amino acids. But what does happen is your body stops you being hypoglycemic. So glucagon will push up a little bit of gluconeogenesis and make sure that you don't have a little energy dip because you need more energy to process the protein. So it didn't kick me out of ketosis. So, and I did that for days and days on end. And I was doing a keto mojo thing, very expensive with the glucose and ketone strips, but I wanted to just prove it. And I think over 4 or 5 days, my ketone levels didn't really drop, even with tons of protein. I one of the days I ate 3 times, huge amount of protein, and my ketones were pretty much there, and I was in a mild therapeutic ketogenic state. So I think you've got to be fat adapted. I think you've got to be quite strict for this and been doing it a long time. So for instance, some people say, my mental clarity isn't there at the moment. I don't think keto or carnivore is working for me. They've not been in ketosis. They've not been in ketosis long enough. I will get to the second part of the question. This is why I'm sort of doing a bit of a segue, and then we'll hear Phil's answer. You've got to be, when you want the mental health benefits, if you're really somebody that's like depressed or has anxiety, then being in a level of ketosis where literally your levels of ketones are not below 1 millimoles, you need to be in that level for sort of 6 to 12 weeks, not continually, but enough to get the benefits of being ketogenic. But you don't have to be in ketosis all the time. That's certainly not what it is. Richard, my co-host tomorrow at 7 p.m, State Control Britain on YouTube. he's always saying how his levels of ketones are very low. That's just the way he's adapted. So there's no hard and fast rules. It's all very individual. So I think if you've got anxiety, mental issues, mental health issues, anxiety, then I would try and keep my ketone levels up. And if you're sort of quite active or you're not in that situation, then I don't think being in ketosis all the time is the be all and end all. I think the body likes to dip in and out in more cases than not. What about you, Phil? What do you think?
It's a long time since I tested. I just know that I just go by, unless I'm in a healing phase, because if I get anything that's, a couple of times I've had horrific, like massive flares up of rheumatoid arthritis, and then you've got to make sure that you're very high fat, fasting, something to let it heal, and ketosis is probably just one of the aspects of helping that. But I never think about it. Sometimes I feel like I want to eat a load more protein. Sometimes I feel like I want to eat a load of fats. And recently I've been eating very little, actually. I don't know why, and yet stable in weight, and it just whatever your body tells you it needs to do. But on the mental clarity side, I think that ketosis is probably one of the aspects that gives you that tremendous clarity, because the long water fasts and dry fasts that I've done get incredible clarity, and people have done that for centuries and millennia, probably, fasting for spiritual reasons. And so I think that, for the mental clarity, then ketones are very useful. You can tell this when you see people with Alzheimer's, when they get them off the carbs and they get them onto high fat, and very often it reverses, or at least tremendously improves. So I don't know. I'm not really one to ask about the levels of ketosis, because I just don't test. I don't test anything anymore. So.
Yeah, I think you get more intuitive when you eat this way, and you get less bothered about numbers. That's definitely a big thing. Bride's Biscuit is saying, isn't protein to glucose demand driven, not supply driven? Well, that's what I was saying. So when you eat protein, it takes 5 times the amount of energy to process than it does for a carbohydrate or a fat intake, your body I'm talking about. So the body senses that it needs more energy, and because there's a lot of protein being metabolized and being digested at the first port of call, the body detects it's going to need a bit more energy. So to stop you being hyperglycemic, it literally tells the pancreas to produce some glucagon, and it gives you a little bit more blood glucose. But yes, I mean, we know for a fact from what they did is they took amino acids and they did what's called doubly labeled, and this has been repeated over decades. And they traced where those amino acids ended up and how much ended up in the blood glucose. And it's very rarely over 8%, normally around 2%. So most of the protein you eat does not end up in your blood glucose. Certainly doesn't directly end up in there. And those tests, like I say, absolutely categorically showed that. And they also did other tests with, bread and butter and different things that they were testing, and animal protein came out the best for all the things. It had the most flat line on all the graphs. I can't pull up the studies right now. I'll try to when Phil does his next bit. But yes, you could look at it being demand driven. You could look at it being supply driven, but it isn't. It's what the body wants to do with it. I mean, it's basically physiological. So yeah. But this thing about eating protein and putting your blood glucose up, or eating protein, kicking you out of ketosis, like I say, I did the live experiment. It didn't kick me out of ketosis at all. Actually, quite the reverse. We were born in ketosis, so how could it be harmful? Well, I'm not saying it can be harmful. But we can drift in and out of levels of ketosis depending on what we're doing. So high levels of activity might increase your demand for glucose. Might burn up all the ketones that are in the local supply. So, like I say, Richard Smith, very active, has very low levels of ketones. Sometimes he's not in ketosis, but that's just the appropriate body adaptation to his lifestyle and activity. But yeah, there's no one size fits all. I mean, that's hopefully what people get from this. Yep, I was waiting for Phil to jump in there.
No, you've sorted that one out. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Right, let's have a look. Tango Delta. I found where. Oh, here we go. This is from Faith. I found wearing blue light blocking glasses during the day and red ones at night really helpful. I think this is to answering Tango Delta's one. Plus sunrise in the eyes and grounding myself as much as possible helpful for desk work. Yeah, good. No Carb Barb, which is such a good name. I quit testing for ketones because they are never over 0.3 to 0.5. The strips are expensive compared to the glucose strips. Yep. Oh, Dr.
I think one thing. Hello, Abs. How you doing, mate? So glad you're coming. Be great. This one Tango Delta's got. I sometimes take MCT, but I think it has limits to make things worse. I have an office job, so it results in yawning at my desk. Getting up and moving around does help a lot, though. If you can possibly get outside during those times, get a bit of grounding. You know, if you can't take your shoes off and get on the grass, maybe go touch a tree or something like that. But get some light in your eyes. Get grounded. I find after every call that I do or any sort of period on the computer, I'll go outside, get some natural light, feet on the ground. It really seems to help. I don't know whether I'm imagining it, but I can almost feel like, you know, the sort of EMFs from the router here draining out me into the ground. I'm maybe imagining it, but I think it does happen, and it just makes me feel a load better after a call. I definitely feel a bit stiff, get like a stiff neck a bit. Go outside, and it all seems to sort itself out. So, you know, if you do have to spend a lot of time on a computer, please just, you know, get outside and get grounded at irregular intervals. But also consider getting Iris on the computer, so you know it's filtering out some of the blue light in the day, and on different settings, all the blue light pretty much at night. So do that. I think Iris on the computer. I can't look at a computer screen, or somebody, you know, they'll show me their phone, want me to look at something. You know, how can you even look at that? You know. My phone's on nighttime all the time, and then in the evening I set so that it goes on to a red kind of thing. You can see there, so it's like that at night. And just, I don't know how people can look at these glaring screens all day. I really don't.
I just wanted to put the University of Michigan study up, which is the one thing I was talking about. Now, this is how stupid people used to be. They just assumed that about half of the protein will become blood glucose, which is where these really odd numbers come up, because they used 53 grams of glucose. And because what I've just said, they thought half of protein would become blood glucose, they used 106 grams of protein. So that's line 5. Line 1 is just giving somebody blood sugar after 53 grams of glucose. So they've given them 53 grams of glucose. What happened to their blood sugar? Well, there it is in the graph. I hope you can follow my little arrow there. And it spiked. Now, what happened when they gave them 106 grams, line 4, 106 grams of protein? We're assuming that 53 grams would become glucose. So therefore, they would expect this line here to be a spike. But it wasn't. There's all these other things I was telling you about, bread and butter and apples and all this sort of stuff, all spiking blood glucose. But beef, 106 grams, did not do that. Now, just going to whiz through. Sorry, I don't like whizzing through because I don't want your eyes to go blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so, you know, this is where we're talking about doubly labeled carbon and nitrogen. So that can precisely track where the glucose goes. And this is what's called a flux graph. And this is the total glucose. So this is where they've eaten amino acids that have been labeled. And this is the blood glucose level. And this white bit is from the dietary amino acids. All right, so really small amounts. And that's over 8 hours. So it isn't like a delayed response. Now, one of the things I often say to people is blood glucose from that direct protein normally takes about 4 hours, because if you think of the digestive system we have, it doesn't just go into your mouth and immediately become part of your blood glucose, or part of your blood, I should say. So that's been tested time and time again. And this PDF I have sent out to a few people. But anyway, let's get rid of that there. But that's what we're talking about.
Did you see that comment from Abs? Can you show the title front page of that paper with the 106 grams protein?
Yeah, I can do that. Hang on, bear with me. Abs have been going on about this for ages and ages and ages, but I will send this to you. I can send you the PDF, mate. I'll put it in your WhatsApp if that's all right. Send the whole thing to you. That might be easier. Is that okay? Then you can have it. You can have all of what I've written there.
So Andrew says, Phil, I have the exact same benefit moving away from in nature. Some people are more sensitive than others, even with the filters on screens and with red lights and blue light blockers. Definitely, yeah. It is. There's nothing natural in getting grounded. So Andrew, you coming up to the festival as well? Come on, Abs is coming up. You can come up too. Come on, you know you want to.
Yes. Well, we need to make sure that people have enough warning. We don't want to run out of tickets and then them say, which I have had, by the way. We had that at the Great British Meetup. People afterwards said, "Oh," because there was a deadline of, I think it was the 19th of July, and a few people just got in after that. But they shut the ticket sales about a week before they did the event. And, we had that with school, by the way. I mean, Richard and I are running our school community, and I know you've got your Substack community, and Abs has got a great school community. So there's all these choices. But we were going to put our prices up. We're still, even now, sort of half the price most people in school. And I had somebody come up to me at the Great British Meetup and said, "Oh, I really wish I'd done it at that cheaper price." I said, "Well, we gave you 6 weeks warning. So, can you not go back to the old price?" I was like, "Well, no, we gave you that warning. That was the whole point of giving you that." Let me just go into WhatsApp and send Abs that thing. Yeah, you carry on, Phil.
Yeah, well, Andrew, maybe babysitting for my niece, but if not, I'll try. But come on, you can make it, Andrew. You'll be a guest. Okay? Come up whenever you can. Yeah, I don't know. Can't see anything in the chats now. The Ancestral Health Festival, Rosie asks, do you have any recommendation for things to bring? And is there food available all day or just lunchtime? Looking forward to meeting you all. Right. Well, we're doing the food on our own this time, ourselves. And it will probably be, all day, I would think, but not just for lunchtime. No, I mean, last time it was just you can go up and buy it, but there's also several options because you can bring your own food when the fire pit's lit. You can cook it over that, and bring your own steaks if you like, or get stuff off us or from the pub to cook. People are buying ribeyes from the pub and coming out and cooking them. There's also available in the pub, and Paul is it's not a carnivore menu, but he's very aware of keto, carnivore, paleo, that kind of thing. So nobody complains if you please don't put any foliage on my plate, no scenery on my steak. Ab says you're going to be drumming, Phil. I'm going to be doing loads of drumming. I'll just carry on over everybody's talks. Me, listen to me. No, we got the Daz Band on the Saturday evening from 8 o'clock, and then a big gig as well on the Sunday night. But also I'll be playing a little bit with Nikita Stark and one or two of her tracks on the Saturday. Yeah. So yeah, if you can get up for 8 o'clock, see that Daz Band gig, it will be good. We've been headlining all the festivals around the country, all the freedom festivals. It's been a load of fun. We got one in Canada at the end of August. That's always nice playing abroad because they think you're much more important and a much bigger band than you actually are. So that'll be fun. But yeah, we will get you up for a Q&A, Abs, and I will do a percussive accompaniment to it.
What day is Abs coming up? Do you know?
There he is. He'll be up probably during dinner break on the Saturday, Abs. That'd be great. Oh yeah. Well, you'll be there for the evening. So Q&A with percussion would be amazing. That wouldn't be a disaster, mate. You can give it a try. It might be good for comedy value. Yeah, brilliant. That's great that you're coming up there. Fantastic. definitely going to have to steal you for Q&As. Coming straight from the plane. It's
Yes.
getting earlier. Next thing, you'll be landing it in the field, won't you? That'll be spectacular.
Yes. It's interesting, isn't it? By the way, am I the only one that's seeing feels internet is a bit choppy? Is it just me, by the way?
That was it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't know what
I don't know
can
what
do
that
about
is.
that. Let's have a go at some. Hang on. I'll see if I can get the
It's
kids
normally
off.
really
Maybe
good, isn't it? It's your thing.
Maybe the kids are taking up bandwidth. Hang on.
I think that's a good question of Rosie's, though, because food is a big issue, isn't it? Running out of food is very, very annoying when you go to these things and you pay top dollar. So just saying we're responsible for our own food is really good. You've muted, Phil, which is sometimes better actually than hearing you.
You don't want to hear I'm shouting at my kids. You don't want to hear the tremendous abuse I'm giving them. If somebody, well, you can read, can't you? You can see what
I read
said.
your
No,
lips, mate. Yeah.
yeah, I'll just say, perhaps shut down the hundreds of tablets running and connected to the internet.
We're going to do a couple. We're going to do a couple more questions, and we're going to get a bit sciencey. Oh, I really do need abs, or Richard on board, or maybe I should just do it in a Welsh accent. Hello, Faith.
Hello.
Every time hello, Faith is saying every time I take creatine, it makes me feel amazing for a few days, and then my blood pressure drops a lot in the day. After that, I get dizzy and even fainted once. Why might that be? Well, this
do you think,
could.
Peter, have you got anything about creatine? What's on about creatine there?
What's that?
You're on the spot.
Huh? What? What's creatine?
Fail. Stephen?
Yes. Well, it's an osmolyte, isn't it? Osmosis. It's it draws water into the muscle tissue. That's why some people like it. It gives you sort of like a little bit more volume. Some people do that. Obviously, it's protein. It's not a carb. But when the muscles take up those sort of extracellular water, the total plasma volume can actually decrease. So this is what happens. So you're sucking up all that water and then it decreases, and that can have a huge impact on your blood pressure. Water intake has a huge impact on blood pressure. Now, when I started doing rehab, I was very good. I did what I was supposed to do, and I would always take the blood pressure of somebody there. And I was trained in how to take blood pressure. And because we're in a clinic with doctors in there is a rule, and they do this in hospitals. Well, they used to. I'm so old, they probably don't do this anymore. But the nurses were only allowed to do 3 goes at it, and then the doctor had to if it wasn't where you wanted it to be. So there was a hack to get round getting a doctor in, because most nurses, and myself, for instance, didn't want the doctor coming in, ruining everything. So just before you take blood, you can't take blood with someone with low blood pressure because they will faint. So Faith, I hope you're following this boring story, but these are the true things. I did have 3 people faint, even with these tests. So anyway, you take the blood pressure first time, it's not where it wants to be. It's either, allegedly too high. I never felt it was high because it's age related. If I'm having my blood pressure taken, I'm 61, so I'd be happy with 161 over 121, which is looking more at pulse pressure. But anyway, that's for another matter. I'm going to get loads of people in the chat now I've said that. But anyway, right. So standard duty of care, you're looking for 120 over 80. People under that, first time you measure it, no good. Second time you measure it, no good. Third time you measure it, you ask them to have a small glass of water, something like that, but completely full. Get them to drink all that water, wait 5 minutes, take their blood pressure. Magically, all that water has made their blood pressure go up. So Faith, take that leap of faith and think, well, if lots of water can make your blood pressure go up, what can a huge release of water do? Brings your blood pressure down, and therefore you feel a little bit dizzy and you could possibly faint. So going to the 3 people that fainted in 10 years, all vegans. So coincidence? Maybe. But hopefully that explains that subsequent crash. Could be other things. When you talk about fluid balance, electrolytes comes into it, and that's another thing. So when you take a lot of water in, like 1 molecule of glucose will have 3 molecules of water, which is why you lose water weight when you go low carb, because you don't have all that glucose. It's not hanging on to all that water, and electrolytes are exactly the same. So hopefully that's explained that. You're right, Phil? Happy with that?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I found creatine really strange. I took it. I haven't taken it for years, but when I was running my gym, I took it, and I found okay in the gym. But then I remember I went up Skiddaw, which was my favorite mountain bike downhill, just outside Keswick in the Lake District. It's amazing. And then I took my son up, not this one, but my son who's 34 now, and used to go up Skiddaw and do this wonderful downhill, and it was never any problem. Just walk up Skiddaw, have fun on bikes on the way down, playing Rambler slalom, you know. But then I tried to go up on with taking a load of creatine during a time when I was taking creatine, and the cramps were appalling. What was causing that? I mean, my calf muscles, I had to stop like every 100 yards or so on the way up just to let them recover, and my forearms on the way down. With the brakes, the same thing was happening, just horrendous cramps. And I haven't taken creatine since then. What would have caused that, do you think? It was definitely the only thing I changed.
Well, exactly what I was just saying. I think you're changing your fluid balance. Yeah, was you at that point avoiding salt? That would be another one I'd also worry about.
Yeah, no, not really.
Electrolytes.
Not really.
No.
Yeah,
okay.
But that's the first explanation I've seen that, you know, of how that would work. But yeah, very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mystery solved.
Excellent. Andrew, you'll love your Substack, by the way. It is amazing. If you don't know what Substack is, it's where people write articles. Phil's on a Substack as well. And it's fantastic. And you write your thoughts, and you can add your scientific diagrams and your links. And you can, I mean, I did one today, which was, you know, about these two idiots that are trying to get people to deliberately be allergic to red meat, but not tell them that they're being injected with alpha-gal. I mean, really scandalous stuff. So, and Andrew talks about stuff like that. And mine's basic health things. It's a little bit humorous. Andrew's is always on point. There are glucogenic and ketogenic amino acids. Absolutely right. No carb barb. I wore a CGM for a month a while ago and found that my BG never spiked after a meal of burger patties, even with cheese or eggs added. I wasn't happy with my FBS readings, though. What's your FBS readings? My brain's gone funny. What would that be, Phil?
Don't know. Got me there.
Okay. Final blood sugar? No, I don't know. Sorry about that.
Fasting blood sugar.
Of course it is. Fasted blood sugar. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy with my fasting blood sugar. And yeah, this is brilliant, right? This is another brilliant thing. The CGM is looking at, well, it isn't looking at your blood glucose directly, but it's as near as it can be. The best thing is capillary testing, pricking your finger, basically. But the CGM is looking at you every second, isn't it? And you get this fantastic average. And it's telling you what's happening with your blood sugar. Fasted blood sugar, what was wrong with it? No carb barb, I'd like to know. Because if your CGM was making you happy, does it matter about your fasted blood sugar? Yeah, we've done Rose's question. Oh, yeah, Faith. There's another question from Faith. You're monopolizing it, but that's not a problem. I find it crazy that so many people are concerned about their health, are wearing smartwatches and Fitbits, etc., that are mini EMF towers on their wrists. What are your views on this? Right, I'm actually doing a Substack about it. The worst thing is the bands, not the electromagnetic bands, but the bands that you are wearing. For the plastic bands have been shown to be permeating into your skin. I think Abs doesn't really think that they're a problem. I would definitely say they are from experience. The Apple Watch, because my wife, Jane, is very lean. We both used to wear an Apple Watch and she started getting headaches. Again, this could be anecdotal. But I think because she's very lean, this might make sense to people. And, we thought, well, maybe it's the Apple Watch because it came on with the Apple Watch. So we did what all good scientists do. and we took it off and saw what happened. And off went the headaches. They never came back. Put it back on. They came back. Yes, it could be psychosomatic. Right. But here we go. So I stopped wearing my Apple Watch for a long period of time. And then once I got back to the CGM, I decided to put it back on. I get it back out and put it back on. Right. So the Nike, I haven't got the bands with me, but my Nike band, which was really flash and circular, that was problematic straight off the bat. So I got a leather strap, and that actually improved things a bit. But I can't wear it for a long period of time because it brings on a little headache, just sort of on the side where I wear it. So for me, I agree with you. Have you got any views on wearables?
Yes. Hang on, just doing a little message to Abs, because Abs was asking about hotels. So Abs, I sent you one on the on your WhatsApp, but it's about a 10-minute drive, and it's in my town here, but there's nothing much right around the festival, but there's about a 10-minute drive, and it's cool. It's a good place. Anyway, wearables. I have never worn one at all. I wouldn't really want to. I do think that people can be very sensitive to them, whether some more than others, like Andrew says. But I have a friend, I don't think it is psychosomatic, because I have a friend who is so sensitive, so EMF sensitive, that if she's driving the car, she asks everybody to turn the phones off. And I thought one time, yeah, let's just test this. And I was in the back and I turned my phone on, and immediately she said, who's turned their phone on? And she really, really does feel it very quickly. So it depends who you are, really. I think some people are just very, very, very sensitive, but I wouldn't wear one particularly. I'm not really interested in what they have to say, to be honest. Like, again, I'm really simple on this. Over the years, I've just, think I've got a glucose and ketone monitor somewhere, but God knows where. I remember doing it sometimes, this and that. I just don't wear them. I don't test and anything. So, yeah, I wouldn't wear one, but I don't think I'd really particularly notice that. But I tell you what I do notice is that a couple of times I've charged my phone next to the bed, even though it's on airplane mode, on red, and I don't have anything running on it. If I charge the phone next to the bed, I'll wake up with, I've never known how it's pronounced, or tinnitus, but anyway, I'll wake up with that. And I've got it for about an hour or so after I wake up. So I never charge my phone near the bed anymore, and it definitely does something. So yeah, I don't know. A load of people deny this whole EMF thing, but having followed Jack Cruz for that long and other people in that space, I do believe that it's very dodgy for us.
Yeah, and I feel, I mean, this is. There is nuance to this as well, because, and I've said this before, I've got a client and they're happy for me to tell this story because they were really, really worried about their sleep and very anxious about it. So we did a consult and I said, well, how's your sleep going? And he said, well, really bad, really, really bad. And I said, well, tell me about it. What do you mean by bad? What does that actually mean? He said, well, last night, it was terrible. I said, well, what happened? I said, and I realized he needed a bit of guidance. And it ended up being quite a funny thing because I said, okay, well, what time did you go to bed? He said, I went about 10:30. And did you get up during the night? No, I didn't get up during the night, not even to urinate or anything. No, I slept all the way through. I said, oh, right, okay. He said, how long did you sleep for? He said, well, I got to about 6 o'clock and I sort of naturally get up at 6 o'clock. And I said, and how did you feel? He said, I felt totally rested. It was fantastic. I said, well, did you have nightmares? Were you tossing and turning? No, I was rock solid. I was absolutely out. My wife said I was, out for the count. It was fantastic. I said, so why do you think you didn't sleep very well? He said, because my Aura ring said I didn't. Now, that's ridiculous. All right. So sometimes you've got to look at these wearables and take it all with a pinch of salt. So, the wearables that are now saying about blood glucose, they're not good. I think Abs has got a question somewhere. Yep, the pressure. He's got, Steve, do you think continuous pressure monitors you have on your wrist are accurate? Well, they don't seem to be. This is what I've found. I think when you look at the millimeters of mercury and the standard of care, I don't think any of them actually have been within the standard you would want, which is less than 10 millimeters of mercury out. Most of them, when they are tested, and I could be wrong, this could be old information, there might be one that's brilliant now, but the last time I looked, which was about 6 months ago, not one would actually get past the Association of the Advanced Medical Instrumentation panel. So, you know, that was a thing I was really into, because I even looked at wanting to do the cuff and the stethoscope because I can't hear. So it was a big deal for me to get something where you didn't have to listen. I mean, all that cuff is doing is listening to the noises that is going on in your body. So anyway, yeah, so that's my opinion.
If I could do a quick story here about, you know, artificial light and EMFs. I had a consult a little while ago with a lady who'd been carnivore for 5 years, and then suddenly started to put on a load of fat. And she was saying, I haven't changed my diet, I haven't done anything, you know, what any ideas? And I said, well, you know, run me through all the other things that happened around that time. And she was a masseur, and she was worried at the time about the shedding from the gibbery that was happening. And so she didn't want to be around people that much. So she decided to become a forex trader, and she was in front of her computer constantly, and without any EMF protection or any artificial light protection. And I said, well, all right, that coincided with that, right? Because I mean, it does have an effect on that, on insulin and that kind of thing. It also stops you depleting deuterium, the artificial light. And anyway, so I said, okay, get Iris on the computer, wear some blue blockers, put a scarf on to stop that artificial light going straight into the thyroid, and the weight started falling off again with no change in anything, and get out in between. It was a really interesting case, that she'd already been carnivore for 5 years. So it just shows it definitely has an effect, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think being outside is absolutely amazing. Right, let's have a look. You've done the hotel for abs, which is good. Faith thinks it might be a lot to do with dehydration. See, I'm not used to someone not taking a long time to talk, so I can't do all the admin. Because Phil, you're so quiet today.
Well, you know, it's it's been a long weekend. It was also my missus' birthday yesterday, so we were out late, and so much stuff for the festivals. It's herding cats when you try and organize one of these things. It really is. Everything from the musicians, firewalking, and equipment for the band, and the food. And then Lydia's van broke down when she'd gone up to pick up a whole lamb from a friend of ours up in the lakes. And everything's been crazy today. So yes, I'm a bit spaced out. I'll just sit here and look old.
But you're supposed to be an advert for the wonders of this way of eating, aren't you?
Well, I'm 134 years old, so I'm doing all right. Sorry, yes, I'm not as verbose as Richard, unless you get me onto something else. But the sort of scientific, technical questions, I always think, yes, let Stephen handle those.
Yes, but you have a lot of, you have a nice broad knowledge of absolutely everything, and your knowledge of arthritis. I was trying to find that stuff about the wearables, by the way. But anyway, the stuff you know about arthritis is priceless, and you know you're very good at getting to the nub of getting back to nature. I think that's the main thing. I think if we're outside and we're grounding and we're not watching the TV or believing the mainstream media, then I think you're going to be healthier. I genuinely think that. I know there's a joke going around at the moment about the Amish community. The reason that the Amish didn't have a lot of sickness during the last 5 years is because they don't have any televisions, well, because they just didn't buy into the fear. And that, I think that's huge. I really do. I think I find that with people that I do consults with, especially ones that have had bloods and they've had the fear of whatever put into them because the bloods are so high, and this is wrong and that's too low, and you just need to calm them down and say, well, let's have a look. I mean, I had that at least once a week. Somebody sending me bloods, and I am really freaking out, and my doctor says I'm going to die, and you look at them and you think, well, firstly, more often than not, it's EGFR, which is a terrible metric. Sometimes iron, which is always misinterpreted. It's never the full iron panel, so that's bad. Or LDL, which is not a great metric. So anyway, look, we've done an hour, and if you're obviously tired, maybe we should wrap up. So I would say look in the description for the link to the Ancestral Health, because you won't want to miss it. I mean, Abs will be there, Lee will be there, and we've got all the other great speakers. Mary Ruddock, is that Saturday when she's on, did you say?
Yeah, she'll be on Zoom, so after lunch on the Saturday. I always like to, if anyone's on Zoom, it's always good to have them after lunch so that you can deal with any technical issues. But
yes.
Yeah, she said she'd fly in if she could. She wants to be there, but people have to come to Spain to meet her.
Well, yes, so that's the next thing. So Spain, that's an interesting comment. So if people aren't in England, because we're assuming that we're talking to a lot of people in the UK, but a lot of people aren't, tell us a little bit about Spain.
Yes, well, we have a sort of a high ticket one in November, and we did it last year, did it in 2019 as well, had to cancel it in 2020 with all of the chaos that was going on that, would have been stopped if anybody switched off their TV. It's a great end to a pandemic, isn't it? When you switch off your TV, it's just a perfect end to it. Yeah, so Spain is in a beautiful monastery, converted monastery there, absolutely gorgeous. 6 days with Anthony Chafee, a load of other people. Stephen will be there, Richard will be there, great speakers. But that's at carnivorespain.com. You can get on the waiting list. Now, we do get people, all sorts of odd things do happen to people in the last month or two. So it is worth getting on the waiting list. There are probably squeeze a couple of day tickets in where people are staying in nearby places. I can help with that. But, it is beautiful. Go to the landing page there and you'll see how gorgeous the place is, and some great videos, including a lovely little Instagram reel that Anthony Chafee's partner put together last time. That's just a beautiful event. It's absolutely stunning. So glad you're coming this year as well, Stephen.
Yeah, I think it'd be fantastic. And the reason I wanted to talk about that is because I see Nancy's in the chat, and Nancy and her partner are coming, which is in Spain. So it'd be nice to. I mean, I love just meeting people in real life, because nothing beats it. Absolutely nothing beats it. And this is what it's about. I always break the word community down into common unity, because when you're carnivore, you're the weirdo, apparently. So when you meet lots and lots of people, and there's over 1 million people across the world that are carnivore, I would say that's an underestimate as well. We're all eating the right way, and it is so good for it's good for every part of your health. It's good for heart health. It's good for your skin. It's good for anxiety. Bringing that down, everything normalizes. Blood sugar management is great. You're much less anxious. All this stuff about LDL being problematic is laughable. I mean, when something's been a theory for over 70 years, and it's based on feeding a rabbit cholesterol in 1913. What's his name? Nikolai Anchikov was the guy that literally did that. He fed a rabbit cholesterol dissolved in vegetable oil, by the way, and saw that it developed atherosclerotic plaques. So that is not a species appropriate diet for a rabbit. Of course, it's going to be poorly. It's a bit like feeding, a lion grass. It's not going to do well. And that's where the LDL hypothesis started from. So that is literally 110 years ago, this lunacy's been going. And we still got people being told, carnivore's bad for your heart. Whereas, it certainly isn't. I mean, it just isn't. I did a plant-based or a high-carb-based diet for all the way up to age 50. My coronary artery calcium scan was 639. I'd lowered a quadrant pain, so I thought I had colon cancer as well. I did the food guidelines. I avoided red meat. I avoided saturated fat, because I believe the guidelines. And the guidelines are corrupt. It's that simple. They are corrupt. It's a public record. You've got 2 Harvard researchers. When we had the big increase in heart disease, many people were smoking. That was one of the things. But the tobacco industry is very powerful. And there was an English researcher called Yudkin, who was doing great research on how dangerous sugar was. But then the Sugar Research Foundation, obviously a vested interest, had a lot of power, a lot of money. There's a lot more money in sugar than there is in meat. And they paid the equivalent of $50,000 in today's money to these researchers, $50,000 each to these researchers to implicate fat as a problem, not sugar. So that's another reason why. You got the Framingham Heart Study, which is the longest running heart epidemiological study, started with 5,000 participants. And even the director of that particular study went public and said, it does seem that higher levels of saturated fat are not causing problems. And the findings were published and it didn't go with the narrative. And this is the Framingham Heart Study. So what they said was initially that saturated fat isn't a problem. And in fact, it seems to be protective and more people dying or having problems with the vegetable oils. And because that narrative didn't fit what the public wanted, or what the private sector wanted, they changed the narrative. And then they stopped looking at people over 50 because the numbers were slightly better for people under 50. So it's full of corruption. Then you've got Ansel Keys and a famous 6-study, and then the 7-country study, which is false data as well. So all these doctors that are saying, carnivore is bad for your heart, they're believing fraud, corruption, literally smoke and mirrors, no actual evidence, and a theory that's been around for over 110 years, and certainly since the 50s, it's been really pushed. And there is absolutely no evidence that low-density lipoproteins are a problem for your heart. But anyway, right, that's it.
So is this the question from Neve here? Is that the one that you saw that you were kind of answering there? Because I would also say just look at the carnivore tribes. They have no heart disease. They've eaten like that for generations. So is it healthy for the heart long term? Absolutely. And the doc that put him on a veg-based diet with very little meat, just get in the doc, or just don't have a doc at all, because that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and
nonsense.
I think, and this is, I will mention this, yes. What you described, Steve, in terms of negatives being covered up now, I believe is happening with GLP-1 drugs, like, yes, Wegovy, Ozempic, Mounjaro. Absolutely. There are people dying.
Yeah.
I mean, last week we found out 6 people dying from the weight loss jabs. I've got 2 people that I'm consulting with having problems with it. What's not mentioned is you lose weight, okay, but you lose muscle and you lose bone. So there's now a thing called a Ozempic face, with many celebrities that have had the weight loss drugs, they see. Blindness is a side effect. And you're not changing your relationship with food, which is the most important thing. It's a real key to it all. We in this community, we like our food. We have a good relationship with it. We're not craving all the time. If you're having an injection to make you slim, and it works, in inverted commas, a bit like statins, it works. It does what it says on the tin, lowers your LDL cholesterol, but it doesn't make you live longer, which is the whole point. And these things make you lose weight, but it's not good weight. Muscle and bone you do not want to lose. And as you get older, it's harder and harder to retain the bone density and muscle, let alone build it back up. So I think in 2 years' time, wow, I think this is going to be a big problem. It gives you paralysis of your small intestine. That's definitely happening. That's partly why it works. It slows all of your digestive system down, so you feel fuller for longer. And the biggest thing is it stops your enjoyment, but not just of food, of everything. That's one of the effects of the drug, because it's been reformulated. So you lose the cravings, but you lose the enjoyment. So you don't go, I really fancy a pizza because it was so good last time. Or you have a bit of pizza, not as good as it used to be. But then when someone says, you're coming out to play soccer, or you're going out skiing or whatever, oh, I don't fancy it today. So you lose basically, you know, people come off these drugs because of nausea, depression, muscle pains, not looking great. And like I say, I consult with 2 people at the moment, and one is managing okay, but the other one is absolutely having a nightmare. But anyway, right, okay. So yeah, well pointed out, Abs. So we'll say goodbye, shall we, Phil?
Yeah, let's do that. But yes, I agree about the Ozempic. We're seeing some appalling things with that. Just, you know, any relatives you've got who are thinking about that, please just head them off. It's just awful stuff.
Well, you can't just come off. You're going to be weaned off. So yeah. Anyway,
no,
right.
I mean, not started in the first place is what I
see.
mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
we're not doctors, are we? And it's just information. So anyway, right.
Yeah. What do we know?
Bye, YouTubers. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. But I won't have Phil with me. I'll have Richard, so I can have a day off, basically, as Richard answers all the questions. See you tomorrow at 7.